Number 1. From 3 until 13, I lived in a nice home out near Yosemite National Park. Nothing super spectacular about it. 4 bedrooms, a den, dining room, the norm. Just down a little dirt road, and if you've ever been around those parts, you'll know. Miles away from civilization. My whole childhood, I was visited by this girl in white. She never spoke. I would just wake up at night and see or feel her there. I asked my dad, and his response every time was, "The men in our family can see ghosts." My rationale of this was that we had some sort of mild schizophrenia running through our family. It didn't bother me. She didn't look like other people. There was something off about her. After my father died, my mother decided to sell the house and went through a realtor. We never once had a contact with the buyers, only knew them by name. The buyers had a son who went to the same school as our old neighbors, and the son apparently came to school without sleep repeatedly, complaining that there was a girl who watched him at night and that he needed to get out. Number 2. So I get home from my job as a server at midnight. One of my roommates was in the Navy and was deployed at the time, and the other one was at his girlfriend's house. I cook myself dinner, and as I'm cooking, my dog starts growling and barking towards the middle of the room at nothing. This is especially weird because she never, ever barks. She was a rescue, and I bought her as a sense of security when I'm home alone, and I could never get her to bark at anyone. I dismiss her barking as odd, but I finish cooking and eat. I start to clean and turn the sink on because it takes forever to get hot, but right when I turned around, the sink turned off on its own. Again, I think it's odd, but I don't really think it's worth freaking out over. The hair on the back of my dog is standing up straight, but no one is home and it's midnight, so I figure I just tough it out, even though I was beginning to get a little spooked. After cleaning, I go in the bathroom and sit on the sink to pluck my eyebrows. My bathroom was small, with a sink immediately to your right as you enter, with a toilet next to it. The bathtub was at the end, and toilet paper dispenser directly across the toilet. So, the way I was sitting, the toilet paper dispenser was behind me. After 2 to 3 minutes, I hear a weird noise behind me, so I turn around, and I shit you not, the whole roll of toilet paper was unraveling fast as fuck, like someone was pulling it. I noped the fuck out of that bathroom. The door was closed, and it had no windows, so it couldn't have been a breeze. I put a leash on my dog and ran out of that apartment faster than Unisian bolts. By the time this happened, it was already 2 a.m. None of my friends were awake, so I spent the night sitting outside of the door to my apartment. When I went back in the morning, the whole roll of toilet paper was on the ground, and the roll was probably 3/4 full. I'm talking about a good 5 to 10 meters of toilet paper. After that day, I never had an odd experience quite like that one ever again, but one of my roommates did mention that a few times he'd come home and find every door and cabinet in the place open, when he'd specifically remembered closing them and leaving them that way when he left. This was when I was on vacation, out of state, and our other roommate was still deployed. Number 3. My uncle passed away in August of 2010. Right before he died, maybe a week or two, we were joking about this and I said, "I wonder if ghosts can see us on the toilet." He replied, "I don't know, buddy." The conversation ended and he passed away a week or two later from heart failure out of the blue. He was like my dad and destroyed me as a result. I have a friend who claimed to be a psychic, but I never really thought about it. One night, she calls me at like 3 a.m. and says, "Your uncle wants me to tell you something. I don't know how to word this, but here's my best try. I can see you on the toilet, buddy." I literally lost it. I don't know how I wanted to react to it because at first I thought she was making fun of it, but he had this special way that he pronounced buddy so that it sounded like a drawn out pronunciation of body. She said it just like him. To add to it, she never knew of the conversation between us. I still don't know what to do with that information. Number 4. I was on Manassas battlefield with my father when I was younger. We were sitting on the back of his tailgate eating McDonald's on top of a hill looking at some cannons. It was foggy and misty out that day with a slight chill. November, I think. All of a sudden, we see a man dressed in full Civil War attire waving at us standing by the cannons about 50 to 100 meters away. My dad had a pair of binoculars with him, and we got a closer look of the man. He appeared to be in a Confederate uniform and was standing stationary, only moving his arm to wave. It was a "come here" wave. My dad thought there was a reenactment going on and that the man needed help. So my dad walked down to the man while I watched with the binoculars. When my dad got close to the man, he stopped walking and had a confused posture. After a couple of seconds next to the man, he turns around and sprints back to me. He proceeds to throw everything in the back of the truck and we leave the battlefield in a hurry. My dad said, while walking down there, the man slowly disappeared, and my dad said he got the strangest feeling in his stomach and mad chills. To this day, my dad gets the chills and goosebumps telling the story. Number 5. I was sitting at home with my grandma. She was doing a word search, and I was browsing Reddit on my iPad. No radio, TV, or other source of noise in the house was on. Clear as day, I hear my name. Nickname, like if my name was Michael, I heard Mike. So I turned to my grandma, and she's already looking back at me. I ask, "Did you call me?" And she says no, but I heard someone say your name. Number 6. This happened a little over a week ago. The more I think about it, the more scared I get. I was in my room on my computer, and I have created a habit of looking behind me toward my door every once in a while. I think it has to do with me usually listening to music and not hearing when people are calling me. This time I looked. I stopped at my closet door. Standing there was a black figure, head tilted to the side, as if observing something. I think me. And before I could comprehend it, it's like it turned to smoke and went into the door frame. It only lasted a second or so, but I remember it all very clearly. Number 7. My gran always joked that when she dies, she'll haunt me and scratch under my bed. One night, I am awoken by the sound of scratching under my bed. I look under my bed, but there's nothing there, so I try to go back to sleep, and it starts happening again. I got freaked the fuck out, so I slept in my brother's room on the floor for the remainder of the night. Early in the morning, my mother wakes us up both to tell us that our grandmother had died last night. That was 6 years ago. Never heard anything since. Number 8. When I was a teenager, I had an upstairs bedroom by myself. I was the only person on the second story of our home. Occasionally, a part of my comforter bedspread would begin to twitch, as though someone were poking it with a finger. which isn't to imply it looked as if an invisible finger was moving it. It just moved, thumped. I, of course, put my hand over it, tried to stop it. I must have blown on it and tried everything, but I can't recall ever solving the mystery. I think about it sometimes, and I wonder what it was. Number 9. I'm driving in the back roads of Southern California, and my 5-year-old daughter is alone in the back seat. She's having a conversation. Facial expressions, emotion, body language, responses, timing are all indicate she is speaking to a child, relating a story of his family. The child is Native American, and his tribe was wiped out by marauders. His mother told him to run and hide. He did, but he witnessed so much death. His hiding place was found, and he too was murdered. It's very vivid and painful imagery. My daughter cries for him, then seems comforted by him. As the road leads us out of the woods, the conversation ends with goodbyes. Only then does she explain all this to me, and I promise to find out what happened to him. There were no computers then, so research involved trips to libraries, many libraries, including the Navy base, city, county, and university. Weeks later, I find a single paragraph in an obscure history reference volume that gave the details mentioned by my 5-year-old, including discovery of a massacred tribe and the body of a young boy some distance from the others. Number 10. 2 friends and I were sitting on the front wall of the Gettysburg Cemetery when the top half of a Confederate soldier walks by us. It was about 5 yards in front of us, very close, very real, except it had no legs, but was at the height you'd expect it to be. Maybe about 5'8". I'm 6 feet, and remember him being a bit shorter. I remember the whoosh of unbearable fright. I turned to my friends to ask if they saw it, and they were already running. There is nothing like seeing something no one would ever believe and having it validated by 2 other people.